Hello and welcome everyone back to another GP Bikes video. In today's video we will be covering Laguna Seca and why it is not on the Motogp calendar anymore. Now Motogp has a serious history with this track in the Californian hills. It came here the first time in 1988 back in the two strokes, stayed on the calendar to 1994 before it dropped off and returned in 2005. After another 9-year stint it stayed on the calendar to 2013 and it has yet to come back, and almost 10 years on from its previous race. I'm going to do a few laps here as the 2005 and 2006 winner around this track, Nicky Hayden, on his 2006 championship winning bike. Now Laguna Seca has a bit of a cult classic with a lot of people, especially Americans. They always want to have this track back on the calendar, but the track fell off in 2013 for multiple reasons. One, safety. This track is in the hills, it's very narrow, runoff is non-existent in some parts of the track, and two, money. The world revolves around money, and unfortunately Laguna just didn't have the money to facilitate the GP paddock and also put in the upgrades needed to keep it going for the GP show. Now series like World Superbikes and Moto America still attend this track, and it is a bit of a cult favourite. As I mentioned, people do love this track. Personally for me, never really got on with it. I don't think it has much of a flow, and overall I just don't really like it that much, so I don't miss it that much, but I can understand the attraction to this place and why people are always banging on about bringing it back. Fortunately in my eyes this track will never be back on the GP calendar just because of where it's built and all the issues that's going to have if it needs to push back. Like, look at the runoff. I know now this is a slower corner, but runoff there, non-existent. If you have a stuck throttle here, that wall is very close. As well up in this corner here, the one where Lorenzo Highside in 2008 broke his ankles. Again, all these corners are just far too close. The wall there, like it's still a bit scary that Superbikes go here and that Moto America race here. It is one of the jewels in America, but at the same time this track is just a little bit of a retro track. It's a bit unsafe. It's not a modern racetrack anymore, and it's afraid for a lot of people who do love this place and always want it back. Unfortunately it's just not going to come back, even though it has some serious history, and especially with the Americans. This track, when it came back in 2005, Nicky Hayden won from Colin Edwards, and in 2006 they battled out again for their victory. It was one of those tracks that the Americans had an advantage. It's probably the last track ever in GP for the local riders to have an advantage, as most riders after that started to get up to speed with it, and there's never been a track since that we've had such a home rider advantage. You could maybe argue Casey Stoner at Phillip Island, but Casey had never actually ridden Phillip Island until he was in MotoGP, so that would kind of rule out any advantage of growing up hometown hero kind of advantage. He was just that good at that track and happened to be in his home country. But we're going to do a few laps and it's going to show off the track. For whatever reason, I've never gotten a flow around this place. This mod in particular is quite understeery also, so it is even making this a bit more awkward for me. I always felt like that this corner there, I'm always pushing into it. This corner here, I can never get the line right. Just a little bit deep. Again, this bike is very understeery, so it is catching me a lot. I do like this bit here. On the GP games, you kind of just back it in. She just goes light as you change direction. Then you power up the hill. Only 11 corners on this track. It is one of the shorter ones. And then this left kink here, don't like it at all. Just so narrow and so tight. I struggle to get this bike through here. But then we come up to the most famous corner on the track, and one of the most famous corners in the world of motorsport, the corkscrew. 17 stories from top to bottom. Even looking up at it, it is a pretty crazy sight, and there's some serious pictures over the years, especially of 2008. Valentino Rossi, Casey Stoner had a little collision there. Rossi had to go on the dirt. Casey was pretty unhappy with that move, but Rossi said it's just racing, Casey. And then fast forward to 2013, a certain young Marc Marquez did the exact same move to Valentino Rossi, and it was probably a fracturing relationship as it was then, and it kind of went on to become one of the biggest rivalries in the sport. But it can be a fun track, but there's a lot of it I don't like. Don't like turn 1, don't like turn 4, turn 8. Also the paddock is very small, so unfortunately back in the day only MotoGP came here, so we usually had this race before the summer break, which means back in the day when it was 250s and 125s, they went for an early summer break, did an extra week off compared to GP, and I don't think in a modern paddock they'd have that anymore. That was, even back then it was a bit of an anomaly, and it was a bit odd to have a race without the 250s and 125s to really disrupt our championship. So I think, again, another issue there, just don't have the space. And I think Motogp have just outgrown this track. It was great while it lasted, but unfortunately history has not been nice to this track, and we've kind of just outgrown it. Now we have Texas. Texas was built really to replace this track, built with Kevin Schwantz, and he had a lot to do with the building of that track, and it was built in mind to be a racing track for GP, as we knew this place would become outdated. It's like, again, if you look at the final corner here, if you get in hot there, that wall is too close for how slow and tight this corner and track is. But we're going to actually give it a try and give it a push lap here. I know for a fact the GP bikes do get it to the low 20s around here, so on a 2006 championship winning bike, I reckon I go a bit quicker than a 27, so I'm just going to shut up for a lap and see what I can do. Up to line, it's only going to be a 10th quicker, which is a bit of a disappointing lap overall, but this track, again, like I said, never been a favourite of mine. I do actually struggle a lot around here for some reason. It just doesn't work for me. But I am going to end it there for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed this quick look back at a track that unfortunately we will never see again on this GP calendar. It'll be kept for the Americans. The local series will still use it, and probably World Superbikes in the next couple of years probably will maybe step away from it. It's just a bit too dangerous for 270 brake horsepower superbikes and 300 plus brake horsepower GP bikes. It'll always live long in the memory of the GP fans, with the likes of Nicky Hayden winning here in 2005, 2006, Stoner winning here in 2007, and that Ironman battle between Valentino Rossi and Casey here in 2008, and of course Marquez threw his name into the hat in 2013, winning here as a rookie. But I'm going to end there. If you did enjoy today's video, and if you'd like me to see more of this type of content where I talk about a track and why it's not on the calendar, or maybe review another track or a track that might come to the GP in future, let me know, suggest a track in the comments. If you did enjoy today's video, drop a like, subscribe to see more, and I shall catch you all in a video in the not so distant future. Bye bye.